Dr. Msonda, are you there? Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Meet the Farmers Virtual Summit. This is the 2020 Workshop 6 on Zambia's fisheries industry, a growth market. My name is Namkolo Mangala, and I'll be your host for this workshop. To introduce my speakers, firstly, help me welcome Dr. Frank Kayula, who is a developmental professional with a passion to work with smallholder farmers. He has more than 30 years experience in the agriculture sector among smallholder farmers, and also travels as a lecturer in agriculture for development and current issues in development at University of Lusaka. Dr. Kayula is also the CEO of K-Pro Research Institute, Zambia. He has also worked for both public and private sectors in Zambia and within the sub-Saharan Africa. He has also worked for various NGOs and projects in Zambia in the agriculture sector. Dr. Kayula, please wave your hands. There is Dr. Kayula. Thank you very much. Secondly, allow me to welcome Mr. Craig Harris. Mr. Craig Harris is the Chief Executive Officer of Capital Fisheries Limited. Capital Fisheries Limited is the largest cold storage company in Zambia. It also distributes and wholesales various types of fish, seafood, meat products, and confectionery, chips, and drinks through its own depot infrastructure, as well as major retailers throughout Zambia. Mr. Harris was also the Chief Financial Officer at Zambif, one of the largest agribusinesses in Zambia. Welcome, gentlemen. Shortly, we hope to be joined by Dr. Vinicius Musonda Mlenga from the Department of Fisheries. Dr. Musonda is the Chief Agriculture Officer responsible for aquaculture development and extension in Zambia. He is the focal point in Aquaculture Network for Africa, representing Zambia at the African Union International Bureau of Animal Sciences, as well as at the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock in Nutrition Programs. To our participants joining us, please feel free to write your questions and comments in the chat box on the Hoover app. Now, kindly help me in welcoming Dr. Frank Kayula to give his presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Namukolo, and welcome all viewers on this wonderful program. And I'm saying this is the way to go. I want to begin by saying that in my presentation, I'm only going about a short introduction. I'll talk about some of the challenges that our small-scale farmers are facing and some of the recommendations that we can give. And I'm speaking from the perspective of small-scale farmers because the organizations I'm coming from represent farmer groups, cooperatives, and women clubs and youth clubs. Zambia is very, very, let me say that it's well positioned in the sense that at the moment, even as we are having this meeting, Zambia is the 6th largest producer of fish in Africa. And that's good in itself. And at the same time, we are the 7th producers of tilapia. In fact, we are the first producers of tilapia in the SADC region. Again, that is very good. But also it doesn't mean we have reached where we are supposed to be. With the 15 million hectares of water in rivers, lakes, and swamps, as well as the 8 million of the waterlands or wetlands, I think there's still a lot of opportunity for small-scale farmers, large-scale farmers, and other players in the value chain to perform well. But there are a few challenges that I would like to highlight and then give recommendations if we have to improve the fish sector in Zambia. I know that I was one of those that actually promoted hard that livestock and fisheries move out of what we were calling the Ministry of Agriculture. And the reason was that they were not accessing sufficient funding from the public sector, and we needed them to be able to expand from what would be given when they are in a separate ministry. And we're also thinking that they will be able to help the small-scale farmers in some of the challenges that the farmers face. Number one is that we still have very little or very few organizations and farms that are providing seed to the small-scale farmer. Fish seed, the fingerlings, are not readily available to most of these farmers. Some of the farmers have had to travel long distances to Kitwe, Mwekera to buy seed, and some of them get as far as Lusaka to get the seed. That's a big challenge. Access to fish feed is also very challenging. As a matter of fact, most farmers are complaining that the fish feed is very expensive in this country, when in actual fact we have a number of materials that can be used to produce our own feed. And it would be good that we come up with a procedure, a program that will improve on production of fish feed so that it becomes a little cheaper for the farmer. We also have a challenge in the selection of species. Some farmers are claiming that they would like to have species that will be easier to work with. There are species like the carps that tend to destroy the ponds, and farmers are complaining. This, I know that it can be dealt with very, very easily. But we also have a challenge in terms of access to market. Those farmers that are very, very far, despite the fact that in Zambia there is demand for fish, there are those farmers who are far. And if you have noticed that CEEC and government are promoting a lot of fish farming, especially in the northern parts of the country, but to get these fish to the market, it's not an easy thing, particularly because whilst in Zambia we do have storage facilities for dry grains and foods from the agricultural sector, we really do not have a cold chain that will support small-scale farmers to deliver seed to markets of choice. Finance is another issue that we have as a challenge in this country. Small-scale farmers, even at the moment, are highly dependent on what government is doing through CEEC in order for them to set up the ponds that they are using. I know for a fact that, well, we have the open rivers for us to be able to harvest our fish from there, and that is contributing the highest. But even then, the cold chain towards the market is not existent in this country. Very few are able to access transport that will give them probability and ability to transport the fresh fish. Dry fish, we have little problem. We have a challenge in this country, apart from what Craig may talk about. We have a challenge of processing the fish. We are only selling the fish as it is in its entirety, raw fish as it were. Very few other products are coming on board. Packaging is also something that we need to talk about. It's not good at all, and as a result, competitiveness in the region is not good enough. I want to talk about the issue of integrating with vegetables and poultry and other small livestock, which started well when fish program and promotions were being done in the 1970s. But now the emphasis has been only in terms of fish production. We need a situation where we may integrate these fish, and it's for the reason of diversification and diversifying incomes. Technology is a challenge for our small-scale farmers in the sense that they are not able to access the technology. They are mostly using hand technologies, just hands to harvest, and very little technology for harvest and very little technology for feed and other activities that they are supposed to be doing. These challenges are so high for the small-scale farmers that we need to be able to sort them out in order to improve on fish production. The 60,000 to 70,000 metric tons is not sufficient. the 36,000 metric tons that the farmers are producing from aquaculture is not sufficient. That's why we are still importing fish, even from the neighboring countries. It is not supposed to be. As a matter of fact, as I make this presentation, I would feel that the imports should be reduced drastically so that we continuously improve local production and improving the value chain locally in this country. What are the recommendations that we are giving? Standing in for the small-scale farmer as KEPRO Research Institute or KRI Zambia, we are saying that what CE is doing is great and we are happy, but there's something that is missing. We know for a fact that when funding finishes for government wings, normally they dump such programs. And we know for sure that when money that is going through CEEC finishes, this program will not have support for the small-scale farmers. They will not have money to go and visit the small-scale farmers and offer the trainings and the support that they are currently giving to the farmers. And we are proposing that instead, CEEC should find fit to promote many BDS as possible, business development service providers, as much as possible, because they will be in it to make a little money for themselves, and they should be able to take over even when there's no money, because they're already making money in the value chain, and they will continue supporting the small-scale farmers. Linkage to big businesses within the industry will also help. We appreciate what you are doing as CEC, what you are doing as government, but we are saying kindly promote private sector interventions through provisions of business development services by you as government and CEEC promoting business development service providers in this industry. We are also saying, we are recommending that some of these monies that are given through grants and the like, they tend to make us as lazy as well. Why don't we have a financial system where the farmers can easily walk in and present their proposal for the fish production programs, nurseries and the like, and then they are given a small loan or a loan adequate for them to be able to implement what they want to implement. And for this purpose, I come back to the fore again and say, let's make use of NatSave, which is widely located in this country. We are appealing again that NatSave can actually work well for government if we make it a full-fledged bank and ensure that it's able to cater for the small-scale farmers across the board, regardless of what they are producing, including fish farming. We are also saying that with the low engagement of some of these farmers and production of fingerlings, it will be good that in each area where we want to promote this fish production, we ensure that side by side, we recommend for the setting up of nurseries. We can have government nurseries quite well, but we also need private nurseries where a farmer can simply walk there or drive there or hire even a small vehicle there, get the fingerlings, and within the same day, deliver the fingerlings to their farm and start production. So as much as we are promoting production of fish, one of the best recommendations I think we need in order to improve fish production is the production of fingerlings. And by the way, ponds for fish production need to increase in this country. With the amount of water that we have, we cannot just continue seeing the water going into the rivers, into the greater rivers of the Zambezi and the Luapula and the Luangwa River, off into the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean, respectively. We can't continue doing that. Side by side with the promotion of nurseries in the districts, we are saying that we also need to strengthen the research wing so that we continuously come up with fingerlings that are highly productive, so that with very little that may be put in, the small scale farmer, the large scale farmer in fish, even the medium scale farmer can be able to harvest a lot. Productivity currently is said not to be sufficient. We need to improve it. We also want to recommend value addition. I heard in our background discussion, Mr. Greg is doing a great job. He gave a wide range of products he's working with, and that's super. We need to push this also to the small scale farm level, so that various players who can come on the fore understand that value addition is very, very important. As a matter of fact, if we decide that we should export some of these fish that we are producing locally, value addition is a must. And side by side with that, we need to ensure that when we improve on value addition, we also know how to label and ensure that labeling of these things is done properly. And I also want to emphasize what I talked about as a challenge, but now as a solution. Integrated fish farming with small livestock, with chickens or goats or pigs or ducks is very, very important, or even with vegetables. The reason we would like our small-scale farmers to diversify is that fish may be kept and grown or produced in 2 cycles in a year. But these other products that may be integrated with fish should be able to give the farmer more income, so that the sources of income are spread. It's very important that we diversify by integrating other products in fish production. As we improve on value addition, we will need some industries to do that work. It means that we must organize our farmers very well. Currently, our farmers are very poorly organized. Much of what is being promoted and proposed is support to those that are producing and those that are buying from the farmers. But what about bringing these farmers together in such a manner that when a group of farmers have produced certain quantities, the quantities are large enough to be picked up by those processors who would like to buy these fish from the farmers? Currently, buying from a single small-scale farmer may not be adequate. We will require a situation where we put these farmers in groups and we are able to aggregate the fish that they are producing and be able to deliver to any industry that will process and add value to these fish that is being produced. And finally, I want to bring to the fore the importance of information flow to the farmers and to all the players in the industry, as well as technology dissemination to the farmers. We need farmers to have the technology that will help them produce quality fingerlings, produce quality fish, and also improve on their productivity. These solutions will help us. In the opinion of us as representatives of these small-scale farmers, we are saying these possible solutions will help us to improve on the production and productivity of fish in Zambia, as well as on us being able to be competitive on the regional market and the global market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kayula, for that very informative discussion. My takeaway from that was that various players need to understand that value addition is very important, especially if we want to export. So everybody needs to start thinking about value addition, value addition. Thank you very much once more. I will now hand over to Mr. Craig Harris.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the forum. I'm very encouraged to have listened to the previous speaker. Thank you, Doc. And I think there is definitely a huge opportunity in the country. We have thought very deeply about the role that our business can play aquaculture. And in fact, I'm glad that you didn't limit your talk, Doc, to aquaculture alone. And specifically what we really have focused on now as a business, that just briefly by history, was incorporated in 1999. It started as a business that sourced local species of fish and specifically retailed that fish through the major retailers, and in particular back then, ShopRite was really the biggest off-taker from this business. So really the business would source the fish locally and sell it through ShopRite. I think the company very quickly realized that the volume being produced locally wasn't sufficient to meet demand, with Zambia generally being, loving its fish and being quite a big consumer of fish. And the business then started importing from the SADC region, in particular, Namibia is a good example of one particular species, and then further afield from the likes of China, Vietnam, etc. More recently, and I'm talking about, the past 2 years, what we've done is we've considered very deeply whether the business integrates upstream into primary production. Specifically, do we become fish farmers? And we have decided not to pursue that particular avenue. And by structure, what we represent is we are now the biggest cold storage business in Zambia. We can store over 4,000 tons of frozen product at minus 18 degrees Celsius. We have trucks on the road, and we also now have our own customer-facing infrastructure where we are selling in 53 locations throughout Zambia with a storage capacity of about 2,000 tons. We actually wholesale and more so recently retail product to the Zambian consumer. More importantly, what we have decided to do strategically is form alliances with local producers. So initially the focus was on local fish producers, commercial and small scale farmers. And in essence, what we are doing is saying, if you can produce the product, and really, there are more popular species, but if you can produce a quality, affordable product for us, we can, en route, given the fact that our 53 locations that we sell through all over Zambia are really dotted in every province of the country and are really located in basically all locations in the country, including the major border towns, north, south, east, and west. So we've got trucks distributing our product to all corners of the country. So if you let us know what quantity of product you've produced, we can collect that product either while we are delivering to the various locations or on the way back when our truck is empty. In other words, we will come to you once you've produced the product, and provided it's of the adequate quality and price that our consumer, as the average Zambian consumer, is looking for, we will buy your product and we will partner with you. And don't worry about finding a market for your product. We are the people that can buy your product. We'll come and collect it from you. We can store, distribute, and then sell your product into the market. We have found huge traction with that being a strategy, to the point now where we have offered that exact statement not just to producers of fish. We have now engaged basically small scale producers in Zambia that produce now any quality affordable food. So let's look at examples. We have approached beef farmers, chicken, pork, goat, fish, and we are even now expanding our product range into ambient product, being, for example, soya producers, where we can value add and produce soya chunks, or, you know, we can facilitate soya producers selling to producers of soya chunks, and we then offtake from them. We have found that there's huge excitement around this strategy as a business model, to the point that we've now got government, the Industrial Development Corporation, for example, as well as private sector, NGOs, as well as other donors and grant money. You know, the EU, a very, very committed organization, for example, as well, is Masika, where they are willing to actually provide equipment to facilitate and allow the small scale farmer to produce their products. And we then, in collaboration with Masika, provide an infrastructural aid to the small scale farmer. We then are committed, as I've said, to being the off-takers and initial storage, distributors and sellers of those products on behalf of all primary producers in the country, including small scale. And we currently have projects ongoing in collaboration with the likes of Masika. You know, for example, the EU are about to make funds available, particularly for the space of upliftment of small scale farmers. We are seeing huge interest and huge momentum around this initiative. So we are not just, you know, so of course at the moment, in terms of our sales profile, still the majority of what we sell is fish, more and more locally produced fish. There are some projects and some very large initiatives under, you know, basically, you know, being set down in Zambia, one in Lake Kariba at the moment, and that's in, you know, in addition to Yalelo have got a project, Lake Harvest have got a current project, you know, in the dam. There's another very big initiative underway, which should, as early as next year, take Zambia far closer to being self-sufficient in fish production. We, as recently as last week, went and visited a Teshi and actually addressed the local council as well as the local fish producers associations, and have actually volunteered that, again, to make our business more accessible to the local producer. We've actually volunteered, provided it can help small scale initiative, to actually set up a processing plant, in this case in a Teshi, where the small scale producer can bring us their fish. We will then locally within the community, to create jobs, package, value add if necessary in the form of, for example, drying or packing to what local off-takers would look at in the format that they would require, to allow them to basically then buy back from us the product that they feel is selling in their communities, as well as through potential export markets like Kasumbalesa. And again, that initiative or that proposal was very well received. And we are then going to take this proposal again to the likes of Masika, potentially the Industrial Development Corporation, you know, to look at potential funding arrangements to allow us to take our business far closer to the local producer within the country, you know, the most recent of which was the small scale, basically harvester in Teshi. But that opportunity exists, of course, in all of our local rivers, lakes, etc. You know, for example, you know, another example is we've got infrastructure, you know, a processing plant specifically in Mpulungu. And again, the local producers are able to sell their product to us at source. We then package, further process in some cases in Mpulungu, and again, with our trucks traveling all over the country, delivering products, 53 depots nationwide. We then are able to collect those products and distribute them again to our through our infrastructure all over the country. I think, that pretty much gives a pretty good overview. But in conclusion, this business is committed to not competing with primary producers in the country, whether they be small scale or larger commercial producers. We are committed to engaging those people, basically being the off-taker or purchaser of that product, and then storing, distributing, and selling that product into the local market. And then very excitingly, in locations like Kasumbalesa through into the DRC, Mpulungu, which has got access obviously to the Great Lakes, where one could distribute to the DRC, Burundi, Tanzania, for example. Another location would be Nakondi, again, Chapata, Livingston, Shasheki, to mention a few. We have sales depots in those locations. And again, we are finding huge interest and excitement from small scale as well as commercial producers in the country. And we believe that in the next 2 to 3 years, we could become self-sufficient, certainly in the production of fish, as well as at a more expanded level, completely supporting local producers of affordable food, both that needs to be frozen or fresh protein, as well as ambient product. And that initiative, as a private sector initiative, is being very, very well received by both a government in the form of, for example, the Industrial Development Corporation, as well as international funders, and then small-scale initiatives driven by the likes of organizations like Masika. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Craig Harris. I think for all the viewers that in the various forms of fishing, I hope they've actually taken heart to a lot that you have said about being able to actually assist them with access to market, and you actually also being able to pick up their produce as your trucks and transportation go from the various destinations that you have. So I hope the viewers have actually taken note of that. And please kindly contact Capital Fisheries and they'll be able to give you more information with regards to that. At this juncture, I will take a few questions from our audience. The first will go to Mr. Harris, which is, can Capital Fisheries partner with government to develop and manage some of the aqua parks on a PPP model?
At this stage, we are actually, we've actually signed 2 non-disclosure agreements and are finalizing a memorandum of understanding with, in fact, government right now. So they've got a very, very big project that they've already kicked off with, and exactly what I've described in terms of what this business commits to be able to do. We are, in fact, just about, to sign the MOU. In fact, when I look to my left, I can see it lying on my table, and that is actually with government and in partnership with government, where they, in fact, enter into the aquaculture project. We have committed to basically then, if they have the product ready for us, we will send our trucks, collect the product, distribute it to the relevant places all over the country that we sell through, and we basically committed to establishing the market for that particular project.
Thank you very much. I'll move the next question over to Dr. Kayula. It's actually a 2-part question. How can quality control be done in fish farming, and is it possible for it to be done remotely? What is some of the advice that you're giving some of your small scale farmers with regards to that?
Well, quality control can only be done through education, training to the farmers, and also when organizations like Capital Fisheries, for example, says that we are going to link with the farmers, those that want can sell to them. The buyer, the off-taker, also gives quality that they want. They will stipulate that this is the quality of fish that we want, and then that has to be passed on to the farmers so that when they are producing, they keep in mind that for us to be able to produce the quality that capital fisheries, for example, would buy, we need to follow these practices. So it has to be done for small scale farmers. It's through education and training. And this is why I am calling for organization of these farmers. We need them to be organized in groups so that even those off-takers that are coming on board, they know where to pick this fish so that it is fresh and it's good and it's of good quality. Yes, it can be done when you have technology. You can do something remotely, especially when you are doing training, like we are discussing here. We are not in the physical space. We are in a virtual space. But so that using the virtual space, yes, quality control can be passed on to the farmers. Even samples can be thrown around on a program like this one, or a platform like this one, and the farmers will be seeing that this is the type of fish we need to produce for this off-taker, and this is the kind of packaging that this off-taker wants. So quality control is necessary and it can be done, but for small-scale farmers seeing that they are located in so many places, to reduce on costs, they must be in groups that are manageable.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Harris, picking up from where Dr. Kayula left off, with the issue of quality control, is there a place where these farmers or these various producers can actually find the levels of quality that you are looking for?
An interesting dynamic within the structure of the company is that 2 years ago, a new shareholder came on board, which in turn has further shareholders. It's a private equity fund who have huge international investors in their portfolio. And so quality control, environmental, social, and governance is absolutely key for us. And it's actually a mandated prerogative for us to deliver on. And that includes whenever fish arrives here, strict quality control measures and inspections take place. And of course, what we offer to any of our partners, again, being specifically the small scale farmer, commercial farmer, or anybody that we've partnered with, we are happy to make that knowledge accessible to the farmer. If they come here with product, we are happy, and we do go through the process of assessing the quality, of giving feedback to the farmer. So it's ongoing education, if we will, basically to allow us to source more volume to support the local industry more effectively. So we do have an ongoing program of quality control internally as a mandate, but then we do share that learning and education with our suppliers. And of course, that would apply to any future relationships that evolve, going forward.
Thank you very much. With regards to still under quality control, there is a question about yes, Zambia is a landlocked country. Yes, we have the dams and the lakes, and constantly the fish farmers need to actually freeze and then transport the produce. Does that affect the quality of the actual produce that then ends up in our restaurants and supermarkets? Mr. Harris?
In our experience, particularly with so obviously the different requirements in so our country doesn't produce salmon, but certainly in our experience, the quality of the local species is absolutely of the top, out of the top drawer. So what one does have to, of course, consider is what we call wild catch. The wild fish in our lakes, rivers, etc. In our experience over the years, those have been fished out to some extent, and so we have seen a rise in in small scale as well as commercial farmers specifically going into aquaculture or fish farming in a more controlled environment, either in the form of ponds or cages in the lakes. But again, in our experience, the quality of those projects are absolutely phenomenal. And we do provide, again, if required, ongoing support. We're happy to visit the projects. We don't claim to be aquaculture specialists, but we do have various people that we have access to that, of course, we can, again, put in touch with the farmer to give advice, et cetera. We've got access to various feed companies that operate their businesses on large scales. And again, we can send those feed producers down to the various farms, et cetera, to ensure that the quality is of the required standards. But very, very definitely, when the product ends up in our restaurants, you can rest assured the quality is as good as you'll find anywhere in our experience.
All right, thank you. Dr. Kayula, in your opinion, what is the most profitable breed of fish?
Well, our farmers have been working with tilapia and it has proved to be good, and we hope it will continue. But what I wanted to say also on quality is the fact that, yes, the concern is genuine, that there is need to control quality, in the sense that we have observed that depending on the water quality, depending on the feed also, depending also on the management, you find the size, even in the taste of the fish, may be something that may be very questionable and may make people lose a market. We have seen fish also that rots along the way if it is not well handled. In fact, as a matter of fact, last week I was contacted by a colleague who is in the UK, who has a company there, and is saying, how can we intervene in an area like this? And is giving a suggestion after discussion that if we can set up cold rooms in areas where fish production is critical, so that when they are bulking, even the off-takers like Capital Fisheries know that we are going to collect so many tons of fish and we'll find it in a cold room, not just on the surface, because slowly the proteins will start deaminating, exposure to the sun, which is not warranted, just exposing the fish anyhow without proper procedure of the drying processes, the fish starts deteriorating. And so cold rooms will help for bulking, and I hope to bring this to the attention of government, especially the Ministry of Fisheries, so that we do that in partnership probably with all the off-takers that are available. Capital Fisheries, fortunately, has given themselves up, and I'll see how I'm going to meet Mr. Harris after this meeting so that we agree on points where this can be done. Quality is important, and for that reason, we should make a request that the Zambia Bureau of Standards can also come up with qualities that are required even in other countries, so that even when we are doing the production, the preservations and the like, even the processing, we know that the standards that are required internationally, the standards required in Europe, UK, or wherever we may want to export our fish are these. And then the Ministry of Fisheries, who are the expert in this, can help us to produce fish towards the standard that will be set. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kayula. Mr. Harris, with regards to the profitable breed of fish, you have quite a big spectrum of the types of fish produce that you actually put out in the market. What fish can you also then, or fish produce can you actually then encourage, especially the small scale farmers that will then be coming to you in terms of what exactly is that you need from them? Are there any particular fish breeds that you're looking out for specifically that might also be profitable for both the small scale farmers as well as you?
At this stage, I think I concur with the doctor. And possibly the biggest local project underway at the moment is in fact not small scale. It's a big commercial project in Lake Kariba, and they gone for tilapia. They believe that in terms of getting the right quality of fish, the right size of fish, and you know, the right food conversion ratio, the most efficient fish in their, you know, in their experience is tilapia. But again, we've got a quality control department which is more than happy to assist with, you know, education. You know, again, we don't profess to be the best fish growers, but we do have access, for example, to this company who are willing to share insights. But, you know, in our experience, this company that we've already started partnering with are growing tilapia at this point. So, and that would be specifically to result in this country not having to import tilapia from places, for example, like China. And then once we get the volume up, we'll see the price reducing, basically to make it an affordable protein for the Zambian consumer. If I also may say, I did say it in my presentation to concur with the doctor, we, you know, the cold chain is absolutely critical to ensure quality. So the fish coming off the, you know, out of the pond or out of the lake might at source be, of course, ready to sell in a fresh form. But once it's been transported from Iteshi to Lusaka, very unfortunately, because there isn't sufficient cold chain, you know, frozen or an ability to keep the fish fresh, etc., we do very often find we have to reject the product when it gets here. And that's why I said earlier, the example I used is we went and actually saw the Iteshi Council as well as the local growers. And we've said, look, if there's appetite from the likes of the public sector, from government, or from the private sector, if there was sufficient funding to allow us to take processing plants, freezers, cold storage to the likes of Iteshi, to Kariba, to Mpulungu and various others, we would actually happily manage those facilities once we receive the raw material from the local growers. So that's an initiative that we've already embarked on to allow both the local farmer to benefit from them not losing you know, sales or revenue because of the cold chain not being of the required quality or standard. We will manage that process for them, and we will then send trucks, again in this example, to Iteshi once we've got the product to a stage that where it's ready to transport, and we will and sell that product both in Zambia as well as into potential export markets.
One final question, and this goes to both of you. Do you think we should have such platforms where we bring both everybody within the supply chain to actually just come and discuss and give advice to each other and network? What are your thoughts and feelings on that, Dr. Kayula?
Oh yes. In fact, I was prepared to say as my closing remarks, if you didn't ask now, that such arrangements are very good because, you know, we are coming together. KRI Zambia is representing some farmers on this platform. And then Harrison is also representing Capital Fisheries, which is looking for the products from the farmers. We didn't know, but having been brought together, I know what Capital Fisheries is thinking. They know what we are doing as KRI Zambia together with the farmers. And here we are. Within Zambia, we can link to each other and work as a team to ensure that this industry advances. You know, for a fact, Namkolo, KRI and its farmers, they cannot do everything in the value chain. Neither can Capital Fisheries do everything that is in the value chain. We need to reach a point where we'll say, Capital Fisheries, yes, you are doing this. Let's put our heads together. And as a matter of fact, government is mentioned in here. This is the role of government. This is the role of private sector and the producers here. This is fantastic. You did a good job and you deserve a big clap for this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kayula. Mr. Harris? Your thoughts on such engagements and summits? Should we engage more as producers, suppliers, everybody within the supply chain? What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely couldn't agree more. Our absolute strategy here is we know what we're good at. I can assure everybody that's on this forum or listening in that we are not planning to grow fish or any other affordable food in competition with any primary producer in this country, whether it be protein or ambient product, row crops, etc. We are people that can store food, supply the cold chain, we can distribute that food, and we can sell that food for you on behalf of the primary producer. So if you've got appetite to grow any form of affordable food to make Zambia self-sufficient, we can help you store it. And in the case of fish, beef, pork, etc., where it needs to be stored either frozen or chilled, we are happy to provide that infrastructure. We can distribute your product. And as I've proposed, we're now looking to take our model closer to the primary producers all over the country. And finally, we can sell that product for you. So you focus on spending money on being able to produce the volume that the country is consuming. We will come and collect it, store it, distribute, and sell it. And we are not looking to compete with primary producers. We are looking to strategically partner with all of the primary producers in this country. So absolutely, our company cannot thrive, cannot move forward without the support of the people producing the food that, interestingly and ironically, the same people producing actually consume at the end of the day. So we are the people that will facilitate you producing the food and then ultimately eating that same food as well. That is what we want to do.
Okay, and you are able to actually do the collection from all these producers wherever they may be in Zambia?
Look, at this point, we haven't got to that point. So we, and particularly, we almost would look, if we did do that, is say, and again, in consultation with primary producers, we, for example, can't go and collect 1 kilogram in Mpulu. Obviously, that isn't our model, but we certainly, in collaboration with government and private sector funders, could say, is there appetite from 50 producers of, for example, a Kapenta in a Teshi, could those people produce 100 ton a month? That then warrants us setting up a processing plant with cold storage. We would happily do that. And for example, I mentioned earlier the project that government wants to embark on. They have said they need the likes of us to come. They'll provide, they'll have it ready for collection in a storage facility up in the northwestern province. We will come collect, again, as long as there's sufficient volume, and again, at the right quality, we will collect it, distribute to the various sales depots all over the country, sell it, and again, that would be our model going forward. So right now, we haven't quite got the infrastructure to go and collect from the various points all over the country, but people are more than welcome, of course, to bring their product to us centrally at this stage in Lusaka. But we do want to embark with government as well as private sector and the doctor to look at infrastructure which allows us to take cold storage infrastructure closer to where the production is happening. And that can be in north, south, and east, west of the country. And it doesn't just apply to fish. It could be beef, chicken, pork, goat, etc.
Dr. Kayula, I think that's where you actually then come in, because then your responsibility there or your job there would then be to bring all these small scale farmers that you interact with and actually tell them to collaborate and create a network where it becomes easier and for the products to actually be in bulk to make it easier for Mr. Harris and his organization to then pick it up. So based on that, do you have any last words that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, the last word is the fact that, yes, I'll repeat, we need farmers to get organized. If we have to be able to supply to capital fisheries and others, farmers must come together in groups, because for sure, like Mr. Harris has said, there's no way they can travel for 5 kg of fish in Imbala or 5 kg of fish in Mukushi. It must be sufficient. So it can only be sufficient if we organize these farmers. As we are producing, we agree. Now we are going to harvest, we put in a local storage facility, and then those that are collecting, like capital fisheries, come and collect from the local cold storage to a central local storage, or central within a province or within a district. Then fish is moving in a cold chain that we need. So we need to do that as much as possible. So farmer aggregation for us is what we need. The cold storage for us, or the cold chain, must be implemented at all cost, and we should start that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Harris, any last words?
I once again concur with the doctor. I couldn't agree more. To be clear, we already are committed to, to partnering with every single primary producer, no matter how small. But at this stage, it is stating the obvious that if that small scale farmer were to bring their product to us in Lusaka at this stage, the risk that they run is that, provided the quality of that product when it arrives here is to the required standard, we of course will buy it. But considering the challenges that those small scale farmers are facing, we are happy to collaborate with international and local financiers. We are happy to manage the process of ensuring quality in the form, again, using fish as an example, of providing the cold storage and then processing facilities in the more outlying areas of the country. And we do think it's an initiative that all of us collectively should embark on, again, with the aim of making ourselves self-sufficient, of making Zambians responsible and accountable for our own destiny and producing our own food. We're absolutely committed to that agenda.
Thank you very much. I, for one, is looking forward to the collaboration between Dr. Kayula and Mr. Harris's respective organizations. Thank you, gentlemen, for a very informative discussion. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please allow me to take this time to kindly thank our speakers, Dr. Frank Kayula and Mr. Craig Harris. Also allow me to kindly thank Dr. Musonda Mulenga, who was able to join us as an attendee. I would also like to take this opportunity to urge participants to kindly go onto the agenda on the Hoover app and participate in the workshop evaluation polls. My name is Namkolo Mangala, and I have been your host for this workshop. I thank you once more.